How's it going, everybody? Blake here with Blake's Builds. Tonight we are hopefully gonna get the fuel system plumbed in, minus maybe the fuel filter. I don't really know yet, but right now I've actually already started. Just want to kind of figure out what direction I was going with this video. But we're gonna mount the fuel regulator, get it hooked up to the fuel rails, get the flex sensor hooked up. All that fun stuff, but, let's do it. The point I've chosen to mount the fuel pressure regulator is right there on them two studs. Honestly, I know the grounding strap goes there, which I do have to hook a grounding strap up back to one of those. But other than that, I had actually an open stud on one. This is the feed. So what you do is the feed's going to come up. It's going to go through the passenger side rail, cross under the throttle body, through the driver's side rail, come back out, and then into my regulator. And then the return's going to go actually into the bottom one there. That is the factory return. So, yeah, pretty straightforward, except we got to make a bracket. So this is the bracket so far that I've come up with. This is the two factory studs on the firewall. That's going to be a bend because those studs are at an angle. So that's going to be a bend. That's the two holes for the regulator. Two holes for the regulator. This is a leg coming off, and it's going to be bent right here, or try to anyways. And my flex sensor is going to mount right here. Let's see, we can pull it over here just so you can get an idea. So here's my fuel pressure regulator. Gonna get it in its spot. All this is still loose, obviously. It needs to be bent around. But I've added this. So this is a Low Dollar Motorsports fuel pressure sensor. Well, it's not specifically for fuel pressure, but it's oil. I think the common applications are oil and lost my train of thought. Oil and gas. So that's what I'm doing. I found this 3/8 T. I guess you'd call it a T on eBay, and bought it. So I can visually set up the fuel pressure underneath the hood, but I'll also have a readout for the ECU, just in case, for data logging purposes, and just make sure everything's happy. But I just got to cut that out, and cut this off, and we should be in business. This is the bracket I've come up with. I had to drill some access holes to be able to get the regulator bolted down. I tapped the plate. That's the screws that come with the flex fuel. I brought a flex fuel mounting bracket just to make it look a little better. The screws are way too long. I probably will cut them off or use that as a place to zip tie up some wires, because there are some wires running behind it. So this is going to be coming from the fuel rails. It's going to go in. It's going to regulate the pressure. It's going to pass through the flex sensor and then go down the return line back to the tank. I did not plan this like this, and I expected to have to run an AN line from the flex sensor to my return line, but it works. It fits up right there. Granted, my feed's still flopping there, but the hose was busted or rusted underneath. But holy cow, look how clean that is. I am tickled to death. Holy crap. Wow. Kind of lost for words. So I got starting at the factory fuel line, I got a 5/16 fuel quick connect male going to the factory line. And then it's going into a 6AN coupler which is going to a 3/8 quick connect that's mounted on the flex sensor. And then on the other side, it's another 3/8 and then into a 90, and then it's right into the bottom of the regulator. Holy crap. I'm tickled to death at that. So now what we need to do is we need to plumb in the fuel lines, which means I need to take that fuel hose, figure out how I want to route it, but it needs to route behind the intake into the back of that fuel rail, out the front, going to cross under to right there, and then I'm going to come out the back and into there. Heck yeah. So I stretched my inner line around behind the intake, and I got an idea. So to cut a in line, the braided kind, you wrap it in electrical tape. I'm gonna try to use my little Milwaukee 3-inch cutoff. I don't know if it'll be enough, but you just take a cutoff wheel, unless you have the special cutters, which I do not, and you just slice through it. You don't want to go too fast, but you don't want to go too slow at the same time. It's kind of by feel. But let me get this cut. Now that we got it cut, you know, just slice it off pretty cleanly there. You're going to take apart your fitting. You're going to leave this little crush sleeve. You're going to leave it on your fitting, and then the coupler, this is going to slide over your hose. It can be a little difficult getting this on the braided hose because it does flare out like the braiding does. But, you know, these higher quality fittings have a flare at the back, so it makes it really easy. Just kind of, you know, take your time and kind of push the edges in, and it'll slip over it. So that little aluminum grommet is going to kind of go between the outside braiding and the inside liner, and then we're just going to screw them together. I would recommend buying an AN wrench. I only have one. If I had two, it'd be even easier. But, so, you know, see how that little hex is a little marred up? That's because I had to use a regular wrench on that. That's what's good about the AN wrenches is, you know, it's gonna be a lot easier because they're made of aluminum as well. So let's get it in the back of the head. I mean, back of the fuel rail. We're hooked up on the back of the fuel rail now. It's routed pretty nicely. I'm going to figure out something to do with that old feed line. But anyway, let's go back to my table over there and make our crossover for the front. Luckily, the kit I bought for the fuel rails came with a crossover with it. So I don't have to measure anything. I just need to remake what they sent. Here's the new crossover. Let's go put it on. Ran into an issue with the front crossover. This one here behind the alternator, the 90s that come with the kit actually contact the alternator. So I'm gonna have to order a low profile 90 to go in there. Not a huge deal, but I was able to reuse the piece I cut. I just swapped out the that 90 that was on one end. I swapped it out with I think it's 135 degree fitting, and then it's kind of hard to see, but down there on the back is the other 90 that was in the front, so that just links right up there. So like I said, the feed comes up from the back. See the braided line coming up, goes in the back of that rail. It's going to come out the front of this rail into that rail, come out the back into the regulator, and then there's the feed going back down. It's not hooked up right now, but yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. This has been a quick little episode, but I feel like I got a lot done. I mean, I am tickled to death with how the bracket lined out and how I was able to pretty much just lined straight up with the factory return with that flex sensor on the bracket I made and everything. I'm just tickled to death with that. But I need to order a fitting, and really the plumbing side of the fuel system will be complete. I probably won't show it just because it's just making another line, and you know, that's kind of been beat to death on here on YouTube already. But this is how I did it. I'm pretty excited about it. But y'all have a great evening, and God bless.